Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. It's been over a week of a massive firefight in LA County. The area burned by the Palisades, Eaton, and Hearst fires covers about 60 square miles. Thousands of structures have been damaged or destroyed, thousands still under evacuation orders. Lee Waldman is in the Pacific Palisades area where residents still aren't able to return to see what properties are still salvageable.
Oh my God.
It's the first time Paul Yonette and his 91-year-old father Howard have seen what's left of the home they lived in for decades. Roadblocks are keeping them out, but we were able to grab video for them and a few mementos buried amongst the ashes. When the evacuation orders came last week, Paul and Howard stayed. They raced to safety after trying to defend their home with garden hoses.
Do it, and then suddenly there was a wall of flame and heat and embers. My jacket was catching on fire.
Howard's other son, Henri, shot this video the next morning.
Oh my God, it's gone. It's gone.
The neighborhood he grew up in, destroyed. Now he's not sure if the community will come back again.
You have people who have lost everything and are absolutely not going to be able to afford having to live somewhere else on a pension.
While winds this week aren't nearly as powerful as when the fire started, Colin Noyes with CAL FIRE says they're up against dry conditions and low relative humidity, increasing the risk of new fires to pop up.
We have a strong initial attack force right now. All of our aerial resources here, all of our fire engines and crews, if they're not actively engaged in this, they can be easily deployed to any new starts.
In Pacific Palisades, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
A scathing report filed following an investigation into those 911 outages over a wide area of the Lumens Nebraska network. The Nebraska Public Service Commission said the level of performance guaranteed by Lumen to almost never fail did so multiple times and did not live up to the contract signed with the state. Not only did civilians lose access to 911, some county sheriffs and police departments weren't informed by Lumen until at least an hour after they'd already discovered the potential issue. There were outages in late August of 2023, plus two more in April and July of last year for many 911 departments. The commission now says they're looking into potential changes to the current emergency system and an independent verification process. Governor Jim Pillen expected to address Nebraska on the state of the state today. A day before that, he re-emphasized his push on four principles, the focus specifically on ag yesterday.
I think one of the things is you go across the state of Nebraska, and if you talk to car dealers, I don't care if it's right on the river, I don't care where it's at, and when agriculture's doing good, guess what's happening? They're selling gobs of vehicles. The better agriculture does, the better our entire economy goes, and it's from the river all the way out to Harrison. It's needless to say our lifeblood.
Pillen was joined by senators yesterday introducing new legislation they hope gets voted and signed into law, including a bill to ban lab-grown meat from being sold in the state, while also trying to improve the labeling of meat substitutes. Lab-grown meat not believed to be sold in Nebraska at this time. There's also a level of efficiency being implemented. Pillen says he's looking to merge the Nebraska Department of Environment and Energy with the Department of Natural Resources. He also says he's looking into putting a task force in play to monitor water content and quality as some areas deal with high nitrate levels. Another bill would looking to become law would protect data collected by farm equipment from being shared without approval of the owner. Armed bank robbers in eastern Nebraska on the loose, authorities asking for help in tracking them down. Community State Bank employees in Cedar Bluffs called 911 after two men forced them into the vault and stole an unspecified amount of money. The Saunders County Sheriff's Department says one of the employees believes there was a gun being held at their back by the robber. Investigators believe a silver Pontiac Grand Am with Iowa license plates was the getaway vehicle. They believe it was seen heading into Omaha on Highway 275. The State Patrol and FBI are helping with the investigation. When it comes to finances, women seem to be the most stressed out. New research from Credit One Bank found that women and Gen Z, that's people 18 to 28, experience the most stress about money. Student loan debt and the gender pay gap, a couple of contributing factors. Stagnant wages, another. Credit One Bank surveyed 1,000 American adults for the survey. About 1 in 3 say they have a fear of debt. However, roughly half of Generation X, between the ages of 45 and 60, say having debt is normal. Americans have long complained about the high cost of prescription drugs, and a new report from the Federal Trade Commission uncovers what appears to be a major driver of those costs. The report found that pharmacy benefit managers, those are the companies that are the middlemen between drug makers, insurers, and pharmacies, made more than $7 billion by marking up the prices of dozens of generic drugs. Some of the medicines included drugs to treat heart disease, cancer, and HIV, among other conditions. This happened between 2017 and 2022. The report found the price markups happened when spending on drugs rose significantly during that period. Well, the final tallies are in, showing the state of Nebraska collected over $29 million in gambling tax from the 4 casinos last year. More than $20 million of that goes directly to the property tax credit cash fund. Warhorse Lincoln led the way financially, bringing in more than $8 million. Grand Island Casino Resort just under $5 million, while Warhorse Omaha brought in over $4.5 million. Harrah's Columbus collected over $2.5 million. The remaining money went to city and county shares, the state's general fund, and compulsive gamblers assistance, each collected close to $750,000. Both healthy eating and food satisfaction are on the decline. That's according to a study published yesterday by Gallup. Researchers collected data from people in over 140 countries last year, asked them several questions about the food they ate, including how healthy they think it is and how much they enjoy it. 81% said they enjoy their food. That was down from 87% the year before. About 75% said they ate mostly healthy food. That was down from 82% the year before. Those who reported eating healthy dropped even lower in the U.S. 71% said they ate mostly healthy food in 2023. That's compared to 83% the year before. It's going to be a busy day of Senate confirmation hearings today for President-elect Donald Trump's cabinet picks. 6 of those picks set for hearings today. The biggest focus will likely be on Trump's Attorney General pick, Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, and John Ratcliffe for CIA Director. Each of those nominees will appear before separate committees. The hearings come as the Republican-led Senate appears to be largely falling in line behind the president-elect's choices. Trump's term officially begins on Monday. The banning of transgender athletes one step closer to becoming federal law. The House of Representatives passed the Protection of Women's and Girls in Sports Act. It makes it so all athletes would be required to compete against their reproductive biology and genetics at birth. All 3 Nebraska representatives in favor of the measure. It's not the first time the House has passed the measure. It did so last year, but the Democratic-led Senate decided not to discuss it. It's not clear yet if the bill will be able to pass the GOP-led Senate, and likely faces an uphill battle in the chamber because of the tight margin of partisan control. Senate Republicans have 53 seats. At least 7 Democrats would need to vote with Republicans to hit the 60-vote threshold to advance a bill subject past a filibuster. Flags are to remain at half-staff through January 28th to remember former President Jimmy Carter and his recent passing. But now there's an exception in Nebraska. Governor Jim Pillen issuing an edict that at least for all state buildings and the state capitol on Monday, January 20th, flags will be flying at full staff to commemorate President Donald Trump. They'll be at full staff from sunrise to sunset and return to half-staff the following morning through the 28th. President-elect Donald Trump says he's planning to create an external revenue service. In a post on Truth Social yesterday, Trump announced a new federal agency that would collect tariffs and other revenues from foreign nations. He said the so-called External Revenue Service will be formed on Monday, Inauguration Day. Trump has promised massive hikes in tariffs on goods coming from Mexico, Canada, and China starting on the first day of his administration. Some have said that policy could sharply increase costs for American businesses and consumers. Tax season's underway for some looking to get a jump on the first day of filing, January 27th. That's when the IRS begins accepting 2024 income tax returns. And with a little less than 2 weeks until those can be sent in, there are a few things to keep in mind before finalizing the financial year.
This tax season, the IRS expects more than 140 million individual tax returns to be filed ahead of the April 15th federal deadline. Lisa Green-Lewis with TurboTax says before getting started, there's a few things to keep in mind.
Gather your W-2s, 1099s that report your income, and then also those receipts for anything that's deductible.
Although the official deadline to file your return is in April, millions of Americans won't be up against that timeline. Your filing deadline may be different if you live or do business in a federally declared disaster area. For example, the IRS announced that Southern California wildfire victims now have until October 15th to file federal, individual, or business tax returns and make tax payments. Similarly, because of the devastation wrought by Hurricane Helene and Milton, all taxpayers in Alabama, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina, as well as parts of Tennessee and Virginia, have until May 1st to file their returns and pay any tax due.
I would just keep in mind if you were impacted that you could claim the casualty on your 2024 taxes.
The IRS also says its pilot direct file program will now be open in 25 states, up from 12 last year when it launched. For those eligible, it'll allow people to file their taxes directly with the IRS for free.
The Nebraska Broadband Office teaming up with the National Telecommunications and Information Administration to ensure nearly 30,000 homes and businesses are able to get broadband connectivity. More than $400 million of federal money being allocated for Nebraskans to get high-speed internet. Upon completion of the project known as BEAD, they say every Nebraskan will have a reliable, consistent connection. There's not a definitive timeline, though, for when they hope to accomplish this feat. New city officials have taken office in Nebraska after the November election, most coming to terms with their new contracts. In central Nebraska, the Hastings City Council approved the contract of newly promoted Hastings City Administrator Mark Funke this week. Funke started as city administrator in February of last year, took over as interim city administrator when Sean Metcalf was fired last September. After getting the promotion to city administrator, Funke is set to make just shy of $184,000 at base salary. That can go up by over $3,600 each year over the span of 8 years. The contract lasts for 3 years. There's an option for renewal in 2027. Those who run small businesses say they're feeling better than they have in over 6 years. The latest NFIB survey up nearly 3.5 points to its highest rating since October of 2018. The report showing that uncertainty of small business owners has dropped 12 points in December from the previous report. Those polled say they expect the economy to improve above a 50% average. It's the highest fourth quarter since 1983. 1 in 5 say it's a good time to expand their business, the best since right before COVID-19 shut the world down. 20% of owners cited inflation as the single most important problem of successfully operating their business. Hiring seems to be an issue too. More than half of owners said they hired or tried to in December, but nearly 9 out of 10 said they had few or no qualified people applying for the job. A contractor building rural housing in southeast Nebraska, now also a member of its city council. Dan Swanson has more.
Auburn Mayor Chris Erickson appointed Brian Levine to replace Katie Billings on Ward 2 of the Auburn City Council. The action came after Erickson recognized Billings for her 14 years of service. Billings, who resigned after moving to her family's residence outside of city limits, is planning to remain active on the Community Redevelopment Authority. Mayor Erickson said he had several candidates interested in the city council post, but said he has known Levine for many years and recognized his leadership on the Auburn City Rec Board.
I was on Auburn City Rec for a number of years, and when I got off that for some younger people to get on,
I was looking for a way to give back, and I thought of being on the council, but at the time I got off, we had 2 great council members on there, and then when Katie got off, it looked like a good chance to possibly get on.
Levine, owner of Levine Construction, has lived in Auburn most of his life. 2 of his boys are Auburn High School graduates, and a third is 16 and still attending the school.
I'd just like to keep the city moving forward and try and fill Katie's shoes. Pretty big shoes to fill.
Stephanie Holmes of Nemaha County Leadership Class Number 7 also asked for the mayor's appointment. She said she is willing to represent Ward 2 on the council, but will support whoever the mayor chooses. From Auburn, I'm Dan Swanson, News Channel Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the news tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This is News Channel Nebraska.